Bolivia marks for the third consecutive week a daily record of coronavirus infections. In Colombia, another massacre was reported, leaving 3 people murdered in the municipality of La Gloria in the department of Cesar. "380 Ukrainian nationals are granted citizenship in Belarus. The decree was signed by President Alexander Lukashenko, who assured that most of them arrived with relatives. Hello, from the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. Now we begin with the news. Bolivia marks for the third consecutive week a daily record of coronavirus infections. According to the latest report from the Ministry of Health, the Andean nation registered some 7,980 new cases and also 30 deaths, a figure that evidences a new wave of the pandemic. According to the health entity, the majority of the infections were registered in the departments of Santa Cruz, Cochabamba, Tarija, and La Paz. The daily record of positive cases registered in this third wave was more than 30,000 infections compared to last year. Meanwhile, the national government is advancing in the application of measures to cut the chain of contagion, while accelerating the vaccination process against the respiratory disease. The United States reached this Thursday almost 500,000 cases of coronavirus in the last 24 hours. Most of the infections were due to the Omicron variant, which particularly affects children and causes an increase in pediatric hospitalizations. Pediatric patients have risen 59% since December 21st compared to the adult hospitalization rate, which averages 19% according to official data. Nationwide, there are currently just over 2,100 children hospitalized with COVID-19, up from 800 at the beginning of the month. Most of the children who are sick are children whose parents decided they didn't want to vaccinate them. This is preventable, said today Anthony Fauci, chief epidemiologist for the government under President Joe Biden. According to experts, one of the causes of the increase in children is that only 25% of minors were vaccinated. Now we address other topics. In Argentina, on the evening of December 30th, forest fires were reported in 11 of the 23 provinces that make up the national territory. On Thursday afternoon, fires could be found in several provinces of the country. Local and national authorities are considering whether it is necessary to evacuate the population because winds of 80 kilometers per hour facilitates the expansion of flames throughout the western region of Patagonia. In view of the critical situation, the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development declared on Tuesday a national fire emergency for 1 year due to the extreme risk of forest and pasture fires, while some 300 brigadiers and 17 air vehicles are working hard to control the fires in areas of the Nahuel Huapi National Park, the Andean region, and Aluminé. Uruguay closes 2021 amid drought and forest fires in several regions of the country. The authorities indicated that they received around 40 calls related to forest fires in different parts of Montevideo and the metropolitan area. The firemen explained that the most affected region is Rio Negro, where flames consumed between 1,500 and 3,000 hectares. Soldiers, helicopters and trucks were mobilized to the locality to extinguish the fire. The situation occurs in the midst of the agricultural emergency declared by the executive due to the drought in rural areas. The governor of the Brazilian state of Bahia, Rui Costa, announced that he accepts the aid offered by Argentina for the cities affected by the floods, after it was rejected by President Jair Bolsonaro. The governor said he will accept the help from the Argentine government directly, without going through the Brazilian diplomacy. He also stated that in order to rebuild the cities and houses destroyed by the rains in 141 municipalities, the state requires the sum of efforts to accelerate the process of aid to the population, so any cooperation is important. Costa also accused President Jair Bolsonaro of feeling contempt for human life, due to the fact that the Brazilian head of state took a vacation in the middle of the worst floods in history in that northeastern state. This Friday in the United Kingdom, the temperature reached 15.3 degrees centigrade, making it the hottest New Year's Eve in the country's history. According to the British Meteorological Service, the high temperature was recorded in the town of Coningsby, surpassing the previous record of 14.8 degrees centigrade reported in 2011. It is forecast that temperatures could continue to rise during the day and affect cities in the east and south of the nation, including the capital, London. 2021 was marked by numerous eruptions of volcanoes, with two topping the charts in terms of media attention and the interest from the volcanologists: the Fagora dels Fall in Iceland and the Cumbre Vieja in La Palma in Spain.
The Icelandic volcano erupted first back in March, and even though it was expected thanks to monitoring measures, it was one of the most astonishing events of the year. According to experts, the eruption, about 40 kilometers away from the capital Reykjavik, was not a threat to the population. Unlike the Icelandic eruption, Cumbre Vieja on the island of La Palma in Spain caused a lot of damage and threatened the lives of inhabitants. It started in September, and scientists believe it stopped or slowed down on December 13th. The lava engulfed many buildings and houses. More than 7,000 people had to be evacuated. Lesser-known volcanoes were also active this year. The Pacaya volcano in Guatemala started to erupt in early February. In April, a thick layer of ash put a gray veil on the usually green forest landscapes of the island of St. Vincent in the Caribbean, posing a greater danger to the population than the eruption itself. More than 6,000 people had to be rehoused in shelters. In May, it was Indonesia's Mount Sinabung's turn to erupt, and it erupted again in July. It spewed a thick column of volcanic ash 2.8 kilometers into the sky. The same month, but more than 7,500 kilometers away, Congo's Mount Nyiragongo erupted for the first time in nearly 2 decades. According to the UN Children's Agency, 5,000 people fled to nearby Rwanda, while another 25,000 sought refuge to the northwest. At least 15 lost their lives.
We'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. In Colombia, another massacre was reported, leaving 3 people murdered in the municipality of La Gloria in the department of Cesar. The victims were Yusleidis Vilardi Sanchez, José Israel Reyes Prieto, and a Venezuelan migrant identified as Luis Armando Batute Bracho. The people were inside a house when they were approached by a man who shot them without saying a word, local media reported. The victims, in previous days, had allegedly been threatened if they did not leave the place. The presidents of Bolivia and Argentina will hold a meeting to strengthen bilateral ties and continue their joint work to set a new agenda. Diplomatic representatives of both nations highlighted the optimal health of bilateral relations while pointing out that a summit is expected. According to the Bolivian Vice Minister for Communication, Gabriel Alcón, President Arce has a pending trip to Argentina, which could take place next February. Among the main topics for cooperation are the exchange of technologies, the fight against COVID-19, and other areas that will be part of the new agenda, according to the Argentinian ambassador in Bolivia, Ariel Basteiros.
The relationship between both countries, both people, and both governments is optimal, and this obviously helps to coordinate the establishment of a new agenda.
On Friday, the President of the Republic of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, assured that opposition groups have the intention of promoting a possible coup d'etat against his government. President Bukele said that the opposition groups seek to overthrow the current government through a coup d'etat and call on them to use democracy to make the changes they consider necessary. For this reason, the head of state urged the opposition to resort to the next electoral process with better proposals for a new administration. In addition, the Salvadoran president called on opposition leaders to abandon their attempts to appeal to the United States and its allies to intervene under the pretext of the existence of a presumed dictatorship.
Because those who were here did not allow it. But thanks to God, and as Ernesto said, and thanks to you, they no longer have the power to have them. Although they are trying through the media and through their front NGOs, through their friends in the international community, they are even asking for a coup d'etat. Because since they cannot win through democracy, they have to win through the anti-democratic way. And the strange thing is that many people who say they defend democracy, what they defend are coups d'etat. And there is nothing more anti-democratic than that. Because if they do not like the government, well, present yourself in the elections. Offer them something better than what we offer to the people, and the people will get us out in 2 seconds.
In Mexico, fathers and mothers of the missing youths from Ayotzinapa lamented the little progress in the investigations during 2021. For the coming year, they will maintain their demands for truth and justice and the mobilizations they carried out every month. Our correspondent, Eduardo Martinez, gives us an update on this emblematic case.
Tina Bautista refuses to give up her struggle to know the truth about what happened on the night of September 26, 2014, when municipal police in Iguala, Guerrero, disappeared 43 students from the Ayotzinapa Rural Normal School, including her son Benjamin.
Wherever they are, may the Virgin Mary protect them. May God give us health, so that we may continue to demand an explanation, but also so that they know that we will not rest until we find them.
She regrets the slowness of the investigations in the Attorney General's office and the silence of the Mexican Army, an institution that he assures has valuable information.
They do know where they left our children, to whom they handed them over. They have not wanted to give us all the information because we have pointed out the army, they managed the C4, they took pictures, they took videos.
Of the 43 students have been mobilized for more than 7 years. 3 died with the uncertainty of not knowing the fate of their young. Those who have accompanied the relatives of the Normalista victims of forced disappearance recognize the will of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, but demand that channels be open with the agencies that have in their hands the execution of new arrests, warrants, and the extension of statements of protected witnesses.
One of the detainees was El Caderas, to be exact. There are indications that he could have been killed during the arrest. That is to say, the excessive force was used and this resulted in his death. And for us, this is extremely serious because he was a very important witness and could have contributed a lot to the investigation. However, a serious omission by the Attorney General's office resulted in his death.
López Obrador assures that the clarification of the case is a priority for his government, as well as the punishment of those materially responsible and those who obstructed the investigation, such as Tomás Cerón, former director of the Criminal Investigation Agency exiled in Israel.
There are instructions not to hide information, not to protect anyone, and all the federal government institutions are helping. The army is handing over the files. The investigators are having access to them.
During 2021, the remains of another student were identified, making a total of 3. In October, the executive ordered the disclosure of the contents of the conversations between those responsible for the disappearance of the young people with several officials and people involved in the event.
Eduardo Martínez, Telesur, Ciudad de México.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. 380 Ukrainian nationals are granted citizenship in Belarus. The decree was signed by President Alexander Lukashenko, who assured that most of them arrived with relatives. Belarusian citizenship was granted to a total of 37 families with children. Up to now, more than 2,000 Ukrainians have applied for citizenship. Let us remind that on August 9th, Lukashenko ordered to resolve the issue of granting citizenship to foreigners living and working in the country. The head of state also accepted more than 150,000 displaced persons after the conflict in Donbas, many of whom have settled permanently in the country. Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council ruled out the possibility of Russia's military invasion to the country. At a press conference, the secretary of the Ukrainian institution, Alexei Danilov, asserted that he does not see any danger on the common border with Russia, and also said that in order to deploy an invasion against the country, Moscow will need to increase its military presence in the border area by fivefold. Danilov also pointed out that there are no conditions for declaring martial law and causing fear among the population. The official described as an information attack on the state media campaign warning of alleged Kremlin plans to invade Ukraine with the intention of changing the balance of power in the region. And amid a global race to dominate the technology and innovation sector, China unveiled a new plan to boost the spheres of robotics and smart manufacturing with the aim of reaching or surpassing international levels in the development and innovation of key robotic technologies and to double the presence of robots in manufacturing in the next 3 years.
Señorías, antes de pasar al resultado de la votación.
The use of robots to consolidate its economic rises by 2025. According to the new plan published by the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, the Asian country aims to reach international standards in the development and innovation of key robotic technologies and to double the presence of robots in manufacturing in the next 3 years. While China's abundance of labor has offered comparative advantages over the past decades, Beijing does not want to be left behind in what some are calling the Fourth Industrial Revolution, led by robots and the advance of artificial intelligence.
Innovation, robotics, and smart manufacturing will be key to China in the coming years. At present, we have built 21 innovation centers and 203 innovation provinces dedicated to effectively upgrading industrial and factory systems and increasing the supply capacity of technologies in key areas.
The strategy comes at a time when countries such as the United States, Germany and Japan are also pushing to boost smart manufacturing and achieve leading positions in a sector that is set to dominate in the future. With this project, China wants more than 70% of its large enterprises to be fully digitized by 2025, and the value added of industries in the digital economy to be 10% of the national GDP, compared to 7.8% today. The plan also promises to strengthen research on key technologies such as artificial intelligence, 5G, big data, among others, areas where China has comparative advantages over other world powers. China is already one of the world's hub for robotic manufacturing and innovation, but authorities hope that the Asian giant will also be able to lead in the creation of patents and innovation with its own technologies, breaking its dependence on the West and bringing technology to new areas of society. For many of us, 2021 was a washed-out replica of 2020 because of COVID variants and waves, lockdowns, environmental disasters, worldwide protests and other events. Despite this, 2021 was a year when we, the humankind, grew up, endured, resisted, and survived. Many celebrations worldwide prove that hope is our best asset and faith our most primal value. Celebrations and rejoice are seen worldwide, despite the fact that large gatherings are banned in most of traditional celebratory landmarks. New Year's Eve celebrations will be going ahead of schedule. London's traditional Trafalgar Square New Year's Eve festivities and riverside fireworks displays have been cancelled for the second year. Madrid's Puerta del Sol Square saw celebrations too. Austrian authorities have introduced a nighttime curfew for bars and restaurants to help contain a recent surge of coronavirus cases. This year, New Year's Eve's fireworks are banned across Germany to prevent injuries and ease the burden of German hospitals. Russia has shied away from adopting strict pandemic measures despite consistently high caseload. South Africans shared its government's decision to lift the midnight curfew in place after nearly 2 years of COVID-19 restrictions, a relief for businesses and citizens just ahead of New Year celebrations. Elsewhere, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday wished his country made positive changes in the new year, as well as China's Xi Jinping praised his country's achievements during 2021. Despite these COVID restrictions, the fireworks display, music and traditional food for these festivities accompany several families and bring joy to several households. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also follow us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. Thank you for choosing us to get informed during 2021, and we hope you stay around in 2022 as well. We promise to keep up with news and stories. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.